Hi everyone, welcome to Talk to Today's Homeowner, our live video. I'm Chelsea Lipford Wolf. Thank you so much for joining today. Yesterday I gave a live virtual tour of my new bathroom in our hallway, part of the Chelsea's Ranch Revival series on Today's Homeowner. And so we had a question about how to remove the old floor and how we put in the new floor. And so I wanted to address that today in this video that is sponsored by Custom Building Products. And you see a couple of the products that I used in my bathroom were from Custom. And so I'm gonna kind of walk you through how a tile floor system is created, and then see how the Custom Building products work within that, and just give you a little bit of more information about how your house is put together, because I always find that so fascinating. Even if you aren't going to be installing a tile floor, it's cool to know how your floor is put together. That way, if something comes up, you're not you know what's happening in your own house. So first to start, we had in our bathroom, our house is built in 1955. And so it had, the tile was laid in what is called a mud bed. So instead of having cement backer board, which is what you'll see in houses today, it just had a big mud, bed of mud, and they set the tiles in that. So to remove the old tiles, you have to remove the whole mud bed as well. And so once that was removed, you're left with the floor joist. And in our house, and a lot of houses of the same age, between the floor joist, the subfloor was made up of 1x materials, like 1x6s, 1x8s, and they were recessed in between the floor joist so that they were nice and flush. So a few of our pieces got removed with the mud bed. So after we put that back down, got that all nice and even and all the holes filled in, we went back with plywood subfloor. And one of the things to consider when you're putting, or when you're building your floor back up, is the thickness of the floor in the adjacent room. So for us, it was a hallway. So the hardwood in the hallway, we wanted it to be the same height as the new tile floor. And it just makes when you're renovating like that, it just makes it look more original and more intentional to have the floors flow seamlessly. So if your hardwood is 1.5 inches above your floor joist, then you have to fill in that space. So you want to consider how thick your tiles are, and take away a little bit for how thick your thin set is, and then that determines how thick of a plywood you need and how thick for your cement backer board. So like I said, plywood, we used 3/4 inch plywood and glued and screwed it to the floor joist underneath. And then we went back with cement backer board from Customs called Wonder Board. And it just is like cement in a mesh, with a mesh reinforcement. And that sits on top of your plywood. Then you use screws to attach it, a little construction adhesive if you love glue as much as Dad and I do. Glue it, screw it. And then when you have two pieces of cement backer board next to each other, that's where your mesh tape comes in. It's like a fiberglass adhesive tape. You stick it on, and then before you lay your tiles, you need to cover up the screw heads and the tape with your thin set. So this is the same thin set that I used to lay the tiles, and you just use a little bit ahead of time to basically putty over the screw heads to make them so that there's no hole or divot for the tiles to crack against. So you make that nice and flush, and then you just kind of butter up the tape with some thin set, just like you would the first coat of drywall mud when you're taping your seams. This is the thin set I use. Like I said, it comes in gray and white. It doesn't really matter what color you use unless you're using like a glass or translucent tile where you would see the color through it. But it's just a pre-mixed thin set. You can spread it with a trowel, depending on what size tiles will determine the notches on your trowel. But I used about 1.5 buckets of this for my bathroom, which was about 50 or 55 square feet of tile. So that's the next step after the cement backer board. Then you're able to lay your tile. Let's get a little cross section going here. Where did I put my tile? Oh, and if you think it's weird that there's a toilet in our kitchen, that's because we're in our studio. So it's not an actual working toilet or a working kitchen. So don't worry about cross-contamination. So here's our cross section. And then after you put your tiles on, the directions tell you how long to wait. That's one of the things I love about Customs products is they have pictures with the directions, so there's no guessing or guesswork involved. It's very clear about what to do, what your next step is. They don't leave any stone unturned to give you the right directions for each step of your tiling project. So this says 24 to 72 hours after you apply the thin set and the tiles before you do your grout. And that you don't want to step on your tiles and have it slip around in the thin set and not stay laid straight the way you want your tile to look when it's dry. Because the penny tiles, this is the penny tile that I used in my bathroom, and you can see they're about like 1/4 inch round tiles on a mesh, just a mesh grid. And we actually have a video all about penny tiles at todayshomeowner.com right now, so you can go check that out. This is the first time I've used penny tile, and I absolutely love it. I brag about being the president of the penny tile fan club. There isn't actually a penny tile fan club, but if there was, I would be the president because I loved it so much and thought the installation went so well. So because the tiles are so small, there's lots of air to help the thin set cure. So ours dried pretty quickly, and I was able to go back the next day after we laid the tiles to apply the grout. And the grout is what goes between all of the tiles, and you can really change the look of a tile depending on what color grout you use. This is the grout that I used. It's Prism. It's great. We've shown you some pre-mixed grouts before that come in a bucket and you just scoop and go. This we had to mix in a 5-gallon bucket with some water and a paddle bit on our drill. But I liked that because it helps keep a consistent color. The Prism, you don't have to worry about sealing it to keep it from staining. And it comes in 2 different bags, or there's 2 bags inside the box. So if you need a lot, you can mix both bags. If you just need a little bit for now, you can just mix 1 bag. And the color I went with is linen. It's a great beige color. It's like a tan, and it kind of matches the same color as the middle of my penny tiles. And I used this color, talk about being a creature of habit, I used the same color in the bathroom in our last house and just loved how very neutral it was. And so that's linen, and this is available at Home Depot. So you can get this color in all of the grades of grout that Custom has available. They have Prism, and then they have Simple Set, I believe, or Simple Grout, and then their Fusion Pro, which is pre-mixed. But this is what I used. I love it, or loved it, and I love that I have some left over in case I have any touch-ups or little boo-boos that we have to fix down the road. I know when the plumber came to set the toilet, I didn't realize, but he used grout to basically caulk around the base of the toilet so that it blended in and with the tile floor. So I was able to pull this out of our garage, and he mixed up a little bit and was able to grout that right away. But another thing that I learned from our last house is that when we have an acrylic tub, so it's not a solid cast iron tub. It has a little bit of flexibility to it, especially the vertical panel that's coming down against the tile. And if you grout along there, it's going to crack. And sometimes it might crack nice and clean. Sometimes it might look a little haphazard. And so instead of applying grout along there, I used the grout caulk. So this is also in linen, and it's sanded, so it has the same texture as grout, but you can apply it with a standard caulk gun, and it has flexibility, so it's going to flex when the tub moves instead of cracking like grout would. So all the colors are the same. So we have the linen caulk and the linen grout, and it all blends seamlessly together and looks the same but functions differently. So there you have it. We have our cross section of a tile floor, which works for a kitchen or a bathroom. And it's important, I didn't stress this earlier, but it's important to use cement backerboard, because with the wood and the thin set are going to expand and contract differently and cause friction and cause cracks, and it can even crack your tiles if you have larger format tiles. So the cement backerboard works together with your tile and is going to eliminate any potential for cracks from the wear and tear of everyday life. So important step. You can see this is 1/4 inch. It's not very thick, so it's not going to change your floor system that much, but it's an important step. So thank you so much for joining us today. I don't have anything else to share with you, but if you do have any comments or questions, be sure to post them below. We'll post our video on this floor tile, the penny tile. We'll post the link below, and we also have a video on installing the backsplash that you can see behind me, also with Custom Building Products. So thank you for watching, and thank you to Custom Building Products for partnering on this video and all of the tile work that we did in my bathroom. See you next time.